Some episodes are really great, really stand the test of time.
Anyhow, that was a lot of fun, but it was incredibly abrasive to your soul to have to write one of these things, to keep constantly churning out these scripts.
Well, the good news about doing this show was there had been no pattern set. But they were always very encouraging. They wanted feature filmmakers to come in and give it feature film style.
You know, we just played with things that weren't costly to do, but sort of were off-putting and bizarre.
And the producers just said, okay, as long as we're making the money, we don't care, just go do it.
You really just wanted to put every idea that you could possibly put into it, want to be absolutely as loyal as you could to the franchise, but at the same time want to be creating something that wasn't quite the franchise. And that they basically gave us a lot of freedom.
And after you write paragraph after paragraph of stuff and it doesn't work, you come up with a one-liner idea on the couch in the office. And they go, that's great, do it. And the idea was Freddy is some goth girl's dream date. And this became the Safe Sex episode, which is the last episode they bought for the first season. The teleplay for Freddy's Nightmare was too sexy to broadcast because we had to cut 8 minutes out of the show. This episode was what they called a Freddy show, meaning a show that Freddy was a character in the show as opposed to the host. There were 4 or 5 of those throughout the series run. And between the sexy aspect of high school students wanting to get laid and Freddy butchering them in extravagant ways, they said, cut out 8 minutes. And that's a process, you probably know, that's a process whereby you trim some, it's not good enough. You trim some more, it's not good enough. It's like dealing with the MPAA. We won't tell you what to cut, just cut it until we say it's okay. Which is kind of like the parent that walks into the room and smacks the little kid in the head. And the kid goes, what'd I do? And the parent goes, you should know.
I directed the second episode filmed of Freddy's Nightmares called Killer Instinct. So basically it was the story of 2 competing high school athletes, female athletes, Lori Petty and Yvette Kniper. And they were runners, high school runners, and great athletes and all, and they had a great deal of competition. And it turns into a ghost story, and there's a beheading at the finish line and all of this stuff. So I must admit that I saw it when they just started rebroadcasting these shows on DirecTV, or on Chiller. I didn't even realize that the show was coming back, and it had been many years. I'm just flipping through the guide, and I see Freddy's Nightmares. I wonder, and I flipped it on and it was mine, and I watched it, and my face just turned red. It's certainly the worst thing I've ever done, my worst work as a director, but it was fun. One
of my all-time favorite, if not my favorite movie of all time, is It's a Wonderful Life. So when I got the script saying it's a miserable life, I thought, well, that's perfect. Because the guy has to get out of this town. He does not want to be stuck in this town in his father's business for the rest of his life. Poor kid works in a burger stand, and his dad wants him to inherit the business, and he just wants out of Springwood. And he hates this town. He hates his life is going nowhere. And then fate steps in, and this drive-by shooter fires at him. It was what goes through his mind just before the bullet actually hits.
The opportunity to work with an iconic figure in horror was the main draw. And to create that friendship with Robert that we've had since then. The Nightmare on Elm Street experience is an important one to have. Freddy Krueger is kind of the king of monsters of the last couple of decades, and that's a fantastic accomplishment.
I think that the sad thing that there isn't a Freddy's Nightmares now. There was a number of those shows where if you were, a budding director, you had a chance to try your wares out because, that's really the only way you're going to get experience. And nowadays, you've got to come out of the box. Your first movie better do $300 million or you're dead. That's it. It's going to be 10, 15 years before you get another shot, if ever.
The fact that it lasted 2 years is great and an incredible testament to it. But they weren't really Nightmare on Elm Street stories because you don't want to use those up if you still have a successful franchise of feature films.